What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Pronago here, bringing you some more Cosmonarchy casts, and we got the Shambler taking on Grass Eater on Alpha XY twice, and then Dyadic Shore to even us out as like a nice little palate cleanser afterwards. Let's see what is going on. What a username that one is. All right, so I guess honestly, both of these players have impeccable, incredible names. And this is Alpha XY, which we have gotten cross spawns. Shambler sending a scout immediately. Where is he sending the scout to? Wait, isn't this? Okay, no, never mind. This is actually not a 4-spawn map. I was thinking it was a different map, Source Z, which I'm sure would have really amused some homies back then. Shout out to Hit 'em Up one time. He was very upset about playing Source Z. So we will have some forward stockade action. I have been liking this kind of build. I went on a absolute crusade playing nothing but mineral-only builds and winning 8 games in a row. And you know what? That last game, I'm just going to say it was against a top player. Wink. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And one of the things that I did do a lot was forward stockade. Now, this map feels like it's probably a little bit bigger than Aegis, which I was playing a lot as a map by Veek7. This one is by the Shambler and Biddy B. I think they collabed on this. Oh, and I haven't even guessed the colors. This is, of course, the white Terran in the bottom left is the Shambler. And this one looks like it's actually electric blue Zerg in the top right. That is Grass Eater. There we go. And Grass Eater is... he used to be called Triple Dash. He was in that one FFA. He played that match against Alexander. So if you're curious about who he is, that's why Shambler probably didn't know who he was. But... he's gone back and forth between having a legible username and not, and we've just settled on him. He's decided, fine, I'll be known as the Grass Eater, and so there we go. For a while, it was just a string of numbers when he first joined, but still, it was cool to see him still be kicking. Sometimes you get those new people, they join, they play a couple games, maybe they're here for a week or so. And Grass Eater's been here for longer than that. All right, we do have the quads out. I'm sure you could make this blend a little bit nicer. I'm sure somehow it would be possible. And that is not the only thing that we got cooking, though. We do have double Larvosk for Grass Eater. I actually haven't really seen how Grass Eater does. Like, what exactly is he all about? Looks like not super fast reaction time on that Zeth pairing, but, you know, you can catch people slipping. I've seen top players do that, too. He was actually one of the people that I played against when I was doing my builds, my mineral-only builds. I rolled Terran 6 times and Zerg twice. I gotta tell you guys, playing mineral-only as Zerg is not easy, okay? It is not easy. It's exceptionally not easy in ZVZ when the other guy has Bactyls. Anyway, the Mavericks come out. They are going to go ahead and stim their way up because preemptively stimming before you hit a ramp is a good thing, generally speaking, because you don't know if the Zerg player is over there. This actually should be pretty favorable for the Terran. They're just going to gun them down. Mavericks are very, very strong. And we might actually end up seeing a very quick execution here because of all of those proxy stockades. People underwrite the value of the Maverick spam. And to me, as soon as you start killing the Kagrants there, that is going to be a little bit rough. That is going to be just a little bit of an oopsie. Now, he does stabilize and get one Larvosk still alive. And, you know, the stims are adding up as far as damage goes. The problem is that there's so many more. And now there's one less larva to actually make Quaz with. Despite the worker disadvantage here, at this point, Zerg is expected to be behind in workers. So it's not really the end of the world. Like, they can still stabilize from here. There's going to be another Larvosk behind that anyway. The problem is, like, trying to fight up the ramp is probably not going to work out too well. Although engaging before the stim actually hits is always, like, a good thing, and then you kind of want to let them run it out or force another stim to... Each stim deals 5 damage, which is 10% of the health, or a little bit less than 10% of the health of the Maverick. Yeah, this actually is going to be much better for Grass Eater now. He's going to go ahead and be able to stabilize just fine. He does probably still need to make a couple of extra quas. And fighting on the stim without forcing them to, you know, kite forward is always a potential risk. Really, at Zerg, you're constantly thinking, when can I start to try to afford a... Oh, I see. Shambler's also going a mineral-only build. I only just now realized that after talking about that, about my play this whole time. Just talking about myself, you know, that's what I like to do. But, yeah, I think that as Zerg, you're always constantly looking for like, when can I just make workers? When can I sneak a couple extra workers in? Because economically speaking, it's going to really help out. But as of right now, Shambler is deceptively ahead insofar as, well, I mean, he's gunning him down. And the biggest problem here is the fact that you can't really fight without the stim. There's no bastion for the Zerg to just kind of fall back to. I think this will be a whittled down of what Grass Eater has. It doesn't really look like he's going to have a critical mass of quads to deal with this. We got more Mavericks streaming on in by the 3, and GG is going to be called, just waypointing Mavericks into his base. Shambler deciding, oh, okay, how good are you? Let's see. So I do think that it kind of goes without saying that this is a mismatch in terms of familiarity with the project and perceived skill and stuff. That being said, an interesting situation. I kind of feel a little bit bad about doing a similar build to Grass Eater without even realizing that I had done it. So shout out to Grass. I like to eat grass. That's his name. And I don't personally like to eat grass. I guess I do like, I like some lettuce, some leaves and stuff. I wouldn't call that grass though. That's different. Let's get into game number 2. All right, we are back on Alpha XY for our second game of the day. Shambler will be our red Terran in the bottom left. And Grass Eater, this is a tough color for me to guess. Because we've got, there's emerald as a potential option here, eggshell blue. Oh, no, never mind. It must be eggshell blue. Okay, never mind. As soon as I remembered that color was there, I remember calling that color out for Grass so many times when he was Triple Dash, when he was known as Triple Dash. Good sport as well, likes to be, doesn't mind, I should say, being featured on the channel, even when you lost to Pure Maverick. And I will say, as a note, I know that some people like to submit games that are good, in air quotes, as in like longer games, and they don't usually like to submit shorter ones like that. As part of a series, though, I think that they can add some interesting flavor and padding to the set and show you guys what really goes on, because sometimes you get a curated look, and that curated look is just, oh, here's the best games of a best of 17, like what Crank and Dow had versus Dog. But I think some of those faster swingy games, they can add value. I mentioned this when Cannoli uploaded a set between him and Crank and didn't include some 6 pools. Turns out there were 2 6 pools, and Crank just ran him over. So the final score still would have been, I think, Cannoli 4-3 or 5-3 or something like that. But still, either way, better than what we had thought from just looking at that curated list. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you got to upload every game you ever played, but if you wanted to include a couple of shorter ones in a replay upload, that would be fine. Fine by me. So we are going to get a scout from both players. Of course, Grass going to be scouting a little bit later. I think if you're scouting this late on a map this big, it might be worth it to just make a pair of Zeths first instead, and then keep your worker at home. Especially considering you're up against a player who you already know likes to build a little bit more bio-oriented. And well, it looks like he has escaped the first round of Mavericks, but yeah, the second round is just going to execute him. Ooh, get. Now, the Zeth and Quaz pair have hatched. We got the second Kagran coming. Obviously, very low on the workers right now. Going to be switching back into worker production for our Zerg player. Now, meanwhile, still no gas being harvested for Shambler. Looks like he wants to do double stockade into a Ministry. There's a slower build. And yeah, his Mavericks have returned home. I actually like the idea of what Shambler did here, where I don't know how much of it was a conscious decision to posture and how much of it was like, oh, I got to pull back my Mavericks because they got scouted and I don't want to lose them in the early game. But usually like 2 Mavericks aren't really that big of a deal. But I've been watching a lot of PvZ and StarCraft 1 and noting how the Ovaleth, or the Overlord in that game, scouts out and just kind of positions in front of the Protoss's base. And then as Protoss, you move like a Zealot outside of the vision range, and then now they think maybe the Zealot is heading to their base, and they start preparing. So there's a whole bluff system going on there, and I feel like maybe Shambler was kind of channeling a little bit of that by pulling his 2 Mavericks back, and that maybe would have put Grass Eater on a little bit more of a concerned position, like, oh, I'm on notice. Mavericks are coming. Mavericks are coming. There are a lot of them. We got, what, 16 out now. Fulcrum coming, so finally some Vespene being harvested by Shambler after his Ministry goes down. We did see him mining from the neutral town centers in the middle of the map. I do wonder if these aren't a little bit too defensible, but I am just thinking about it from the limited aspect of the map that I've actually seen played so far. I haven't really commented too much on whether or not the map is imba or whatnot, but I do think that this layout for the main is probably very difficult for Zerg, actually. So, it looks like Grass is going to go ahead and take his natural. He's got a lot of idle workers in the main. Let's see. That will actually put him over saturation on the minerals, which is fine. But definitely something that he's going to want to rectify when he can. Still no expansion just yet. Probably ran out of money in the middle of it. Zeth, of course, just trying to get in here and see if they can scout. We do have a... What is this? A trio of Mavericks just kind of moving around there. Oh, the Ovolith is actually going to fly over the mining Mason in the middle. It's only one Mason. It's not really the end of the world. But you could just send, you know, a single Maverick. Now, we'll also take note. Like, did Shambler even notice that? And if he does end up responding to it by sending a couple of units over, we'll know that he's trying to be not necessarily secret, but the other concern you'd have is whether or not that's a drop. Now, it's Hydrith and Zorkas right after, so putting all the tech next to each other. I guess you get points for designing a base that looks conceivable, but the problem here is that Zerg are just chaotic and eclectic, and they just kind of throw it down wherever, you know what I mean? Like, they've got a rhyme or reason, but it's not something that us mere mortals can comprehend. It's like an Ozlix putting his tier 2 in his third base and then having it get sniped by Ahmed in that one match way back ago on Repulsion, a map by Veek7. A lot of map by Veek7 references here, and this map isn't even by Veek7. So it looks like the Zets are amassing at the doorstep of this treasury. They should be able to tear down that poor Mason. And it does look like we are going to get some, I would imagine, some response to the fact that, yeah, he's going to go ahead and pull these Ovoleths out here so that he can... Hi. Ah, Madrigals have been scouted. Okay. I'm loving the fact that you get the text on the buildings now. It's such a small thing, but I think it's actually really worthwhile. The detector text no longer shows... We did actually see for a moment earlier in the last game that the Larvosk showed disabled. I don't know if I'll keep that. That might end up being removed as well. I like the idea of moving those somewhere else, and I would be fine with having a little status display somewhere on the unit where you get those kinds of effects, or maybe icons to correspond to them. But, you know, listen, UI in Cosmonarchy, UI in Starcraft 1, get out of here. Double Vestry, double Fulcrum. So we are going to get I think this might be like Cleric Tank or something, Cleric Phalanx. That could be really good. Maverick watching for the eventual third base in many locations. Doesn't really matter where Grass Eater chooses to expand to. Looks like, oh, the treasuries get burned down. That's kind of interesting. For a second, I thought he was actually expanding in the middle of the map, which is ballsy, but there's only minerals here, so I don't know how useful that would end up being. Pivot into Izira Core with some Lakes in the back. We are going to go for Bactylisks as the core aspect of the army. Take a shot every time you hear Bactylisks. No, don't do that. I want my viewers to live so that they can continue to watch videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and occasionally donate on coffee. And with that, I will take a sip. I almost said spip. I don't even know what that is. So, the move out from the Zerg is a go. Looks like the Maverick is going to stim away, and the Zets are going to somewhat pointlessly chase it. All right, the complexion of the military has been somewhat scouted by the Shambler. The problem is he's taken a very defensive posture. Shambler is known to do this, just kind of not be very active on the map and just kind of hang out. I know that some people have already criticized that behavior in the comments, probably, by the time I point this out. But yeah, he's not too active. He's seeing what his opponent is doing. I think he's deliberately playing a slower strategy, which... I mean, I don't know if it's actually the best move, but okay. So we have cleared out 12 o'clock for a third base. Is he going to? Yeah, he's already figured it out. He's pieced it together. There's probably Mavericks in all of these places, and so maybe take the fourth base and that sort of thing. I do think if you mass expand versus a turtling Terran, that's usually a very good move. The problem is when they hit tier 2 or they go for a Starpad switch or something like that, that can definitely be a problem. Now, this base is very isolated. As a third base, I actually really don't like the idea of trying to take this one as your third because of how far out you have to go, and then you have to go up this ramp. So actually the 12 o'clock makes a lot more sense when it comes to spacing concerns, although it's very vulnerable to other attacks, but I think that seems to be a commonality here. 2 Lakes are the most expensive scouts that you could probably send out, and they accomplish nothing. Although you could waypoint a couple of them over here and cause some issues. Yeah, oops. Were those his only Lakes? I think so. Actually, I don't think he has any more. He's going to go for the Bactyls as the mid-game unit. There, you don't have to take a shot because I didn't say the full unit name. That's going to be my way out of killing my players via alcoholism. The 12 o'clock is continuing to operate here, or starting to operate. Treasury being assembled. Where is that? Okay, I guess that's going to be migrating over here because he's got a worker excess. Shambler does have an okay worker count. Could be higher. Doesn't use treasuries, though, so it's kind of expected that it would be a little bit lower. Grass, on the other hand, definitely behind the times economically speaking. We'll see how much that contributes here. His Izira cores are absorbing a lot of damage, but now the Phalanxes are deploying in the backline. The Ant Seals have admittedly all been squashed, so this is actually a very surprisingly good fight for Grass Eater. He's got Bactals. They are very, very good versus sieged Phalanxes because they lose the armor in siege mode. And yeah, I think part of that could have been that Shambler just, ooh, nice splatter at the end, didn't end up sieging them in time. They were not deployed for a very long period of time there. But another part of it was probably just target fire and selection and stuff like that. So straight back into 9 more Bactals being made on the front lines. We are also going to see a bunch of Vorvs. God, I hate that unit. Well, Shambler does type, so we can check that off of our bingo card. Is he typing? Yeah, he's okay. I thought so. All right, 4th Fulcrum coming on the line there. More stockades coming as well. They are cool units. Wink. Yeah, get him typing. Get him typing. Still very much behind in terms of the economy here. No 4th base on the way for Grass Eater. No contest has been made. We did comment earlier how the... Oh, here we go. Hold on. We'll hold that thought because the Vorvs are descending, but it's before anything else is actually here. So I do like that he forces the unsiege. That's pretty neat. But I don't actually think that the army is going to be big enough here to really do too much. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's any reinforcements coming either. This seems like a much easier fight for Shambler to win. But he does pinch off a group of his units and descends upon this base. This is something I was commenting on earlier that, like, I look at this and I think, yeah, you can just run into this base and heckle it, force a lift, all sorts of stuff like that. Force your Turtley Terran to kind of leave, you know? Shambler getting, both players floating a lot of money, but Shambler has a lot more. Now he's spent it down. There you go. But he does need to get out there on the map and do something, because he is losing his base. Bolt Stockade's going to go down. At the very least, the Ministry will excar. Hydras are going to go ahead and waypoint themselves down. There is a single Maverick watching top left and the middle of the map, but I don't think either of them are going to catch the army rotations. It's generous to call that an army rotation, though. Now saturating the... Resaturating, I guess. I don't know what we just caught there. A strange worker dance. He's reset his opponent down to having only the 3 bases, which is definitely beneficial, but I still think that the Zerg needs to be out on the map macro and spent his gas, so okay, there is that, but I don't know. Ministry walls, Shambler going to go ahead and try his best to just erect those. Doesn't quite stop the construction of the top one, but the left one is going to be taken care of because Mason was sniped by bounces. You could just rotate all the way around, but I say that, and now I'm realizing how fucking long that pathway is. Good grief. Phalanxes deploying in a line on the way here. You can queue up the deployment order, although unfortunately it will break. It'll automatically deploy if you interrupt it. Order handling is not exactly the best thing about StarCraft 1's underlying code. Maybe we'll fix it later. Maybe we'll be able to. Gorger cores are not a bad shout here. Look at the fact that there's like pretty much no anti-air. You pivot into enough Gorgs, you could just sick them on top of the Shamans and the Mavericks and clear those, and then suddenly, what do you got? You just got Phalanxes, which, hey, the Gorger cores will munch on for quite a bit. Just think of this like a field of grass, and think of Gorgs like Grass Eater. You know? I think that works out fine. That's poetic. Bunch of Zorius being harvested or hatched. Now this position here is going to be a little bit harder than it looks to actually move through, especially as the Bactals are getting shelled by the Phalanx. You do need another target for the Phalanxes to actually do something. Now they do end up picking the Ant Seal, picking the individual Madrigal, pressuring down the Ministry with some good splash damage and good bounces. But yeah, you can tell that the army size is kind of dwindling here. I'm still looking out for those Gorgs. Looks like they're just kind of posturing over here as the 4th base is taken. Another 4th base has been erected by the Shambler. The problem is he doesn't have any saturation there. He does have a lot of Ministries, so he could just waypoint them over there once they get landed. He's going to go ahead and try to repair this one that was damaged. The stockade almost down. Looks like this base will be discovered, I would imagine. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and try to lift to get out of dodge. Oh, it's actually going to end up going to the bottom right. It doesn't look like Grass is too interested in it, too bothered by it. He does have his 5 Gorgs out. The move out here from Shambler's army, I think he's calling the bluff. The problem is I don't really know. I guess you'd favor Shambler in terms of the base race, but it does look like that's exactly what's going to happen here. And this is something that you can be in danger of happening if you don't, like, leave a couple units over here just to scout. You have no idea that, oh, the big army is here. And now Shambler's just gonna... I know Shambler. He's not gonna fall back. He's just going to attack. And there's not really any defense over here, right? There's tier 2 on the way, halfway complete. But besides some Zoryus that just hatched, there's not really any defensive force. The Gorgs are gonna go ahead and make mincemeat out of the limited anti-air that we've got cooking over here. And now they're going to go after the Masons, it looks like. Another Ministry bites the dust. Plenty of Phalanxes in position here to make it somewhat expensive when it comes to the military. Yeah, the Zoryus have been held, and the Natural has fallen. If I'm in Grass's shoes right now, besides trying to spend my money, I'm going to immediately send a bunch of, workers in different places. By the way, this does not count as a factory. So for elimination purposes, that will not do it. But Terran always kind of wins in these elimination games because they can just lift their structures, and we don't currently stop that. So it is a little bit unfortunate. But I think at this point, this is one of those games where I'm not really sure if either player deserves to win, but it looks like Shambler will have the dub. His army is going to be too powerful, I think, for the army of Grass to contest with. That being said, maybe if the Bactyls end up... Is there healing? There's one Shaman here. If the Bactyls end up clearing out the Mavericks somehow, the Gorgs could deal with the rest. So there is that to consider. I guess the Madrigals are also a threat for that, though. And he wasn't really able to whittle down the force, whereas some Zerg units, and, most importantly, some Gorger cores have died. Actually, Shambler, already being aware of that, has been ordering his Madrigals to focus those targets. Unfortunately, not really going to be able to do too much there. Emergency detonation! Oh! Bopped a couple of Zoryus. Yeah, anything you can get at this point, right? I can't believe I finally got to witness emergency detonation kill something. Holy shit. It's been so many years. It's useful, guys, I swear. So the Fulcrums are going to go ahead and be heckled to death, but the last base here is in this position. It looks like a Droleth will be dispatched. We got a hatch in the middle of the map being made. One Fulcrum goes down. Progress. All right, and the last of the Terran infrastructure back at home is going to be denied and devastated. Gorg's continuing to hunt things down. Another hatch in the middle of nowhere. He's got money. He's got money. We'll see where Shambler wants to go next. I mean, if you just kill the enemy's army, they have to GG, but do you dare, right? The Gorgs are continuing to heckle stuff over here. I guess conceptually speaking, conceivably, you could land the Fulcrums and then start making units. You got a little bit of money here. So there is that as well. Now, I don't know if the Gorgs saw this ministry. If they did, things could get hairy. The quarry is being made. The quarry does count as a structure, as a production facility. So that's another thing. Now, there was a worker that revealed this position. And there's a Mason over here that could build something. Interesting. You kind of got to act fast if you're going to do something over here, though, because the Terran military is moving there. It has quashed the other base. We got a few more hatches. A pool happening. I like that. The Fulcrums are just slowly dying to Gorgs. There's the one Maverick over here that could potentially help out. But it looks like we're setting up for a showdown on the military side. Grass needs to kill the quarry. It's absolutely incumbent upon him to kill the quarry. And if he gets himself into a high ground position here with his whole army, and position's okay, then maybe we could see something happen there. If he kills the quarry, then there's only going to be one Fulcrum and one Ministry open here. Oh man, this could actually be somewhat entertaining because now, yeah, Shambler's not even going to move on the army. Shambler doesn't have the guts, you could say. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. A couple Phalanxes are going to find this position, unfortunately for Grass. So what does he have now? He's got this hatch making right next to his opponent. There is a Ministry in the top right, so that's another base that needs to be taken care of. This Fulcrum is actually almost dead. Very surprising stuff. The workers are attempting to evacuate. Unfortunately for Grass, yeah, his hatch has lost. He could make Zeths or quad. I think you'd love Zeths here. There goes the Fulcrum. Where do the Gorgs go from there? Another hatch being made in the middle of nowhere. I think you really want Zeths. You want to send Zeths all over the place. He's actually mutating it into a Vornath right there. I guess he wants some kind of air units, extra air units. It's fine to just let this hatch die. You know, ideally you cancel it if you can. Good pick here on the Phalanx. Gonna soak up a lot of damage in tank mode. All right, no cancel, so no extra money back, but you wanted to buy time versus the military here. Still got what? 2 hatch, 3 hatch. You know, the third one being over here. Gorg's still kind of idling here, not doing anything. The Vornath is not going to finish. And it looks like the military showdown is going to happen. How do you have so much? He didn't spend any of his money. That's how, Shambler. Now, it doesn't really matter because I think that we are going to see the army of Grass Eater get shellacked here. Unfortunately, our hopes and dreams of the base race, it was entertaining, but it was not going to be enough. Needed to get those Gorgs involved, needed to pick the anti-air, and there's still too many units, right? There's 3 Madrigals, there's a couple Cyprians and Mavericks, and the Gorgs just kind of never activated again after that. Plus 2 of them did die kind of unceremonious deaths. Now, we don't have any military being made despite the pool existing. And, yeah, saving money. Big air quotes on that, buddy. Saving money. Yeah, Shambler is continuing to expand his ministry count. Ministries take forever to harvest. And so now we are definitely seeing the end of the grass. Hey, look. What's up, guys? Can I come? Can I join you? I'd like to join forces. Oh! Oh! Ooh! Ow. It's been brutalized. The betrayal. The betrayal of all. They won't even get a single phalanx out on the way. So sad. How much building do you have? More than you. I don't know if that's true. Let's count. He can't make any more, so I guess that's probably true. Yeah, he's got 3 hatch. No, there's actually 3 ministries and 3 hatches. I can't believe the Gorgs didn't stop this from being constructed, but assuming they had actually been piloted this game, that would have done it. That would have done it. Distance mining, classic move. Hi. Oh no. 1 Goliath versus 3 Gorg. Listen, Goliaths are pretty good, but they don't do that. Shambler being a bad sport when Shambler, your build did this. Your build did that, and then you did that. You did the most boneheaded move of all time, and actually tried it a base race. You're gonna now insert comment about how actually I won the game. I will agree though. At the end there, it was obvious Grass was dead as soon as his army was wiped. But overall, it kind of let us stew in it and figure out what the hell's going on in this game. We got one more game, so let's see what happens. The full gamut of Terran colors, we do have instant gas harvesting from Shambler, so he is the yellow Terran in the top left, and he will be playing mech. At least he'll open mech. And down here in the bottom left, we have Grass Eater, and I believe he is now actually glacial. There we go. I could tell because of the color name was different. Unfortunately, he has not ordered his worker into harvesting, so that's a little bit of a oopsie. Oopsie. There you go. They fixed it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are into our final game. Dyadic Shore, map by BiddyB. So I think it was Shambler and BiddyB worked on that last one that we just watched, Alpha XY. I definitely don't think Zerg can do too much on that map when it comes to responding to early aggro because of the shape of the main. So that might be something that needs to be addressed or looked at. Shape of the main, distance to the natural. No real easy third to take for any race, let alone... I guess you could theoretically, say that you could take it fine as any race, but try actually holding it. Yeah, I mean, Shambler himself figured that out. I don't know if changes have been made to the map since then. Looks like it will be a Kagran into pool, just like in the previous game. I have been seeing that people have been attempting Hydrith openers. Actually, that's what Grass did against my mineral-only build. So I know that people are shifting things up, going for Hydrith into Larvosk and stuff. We are going to have a proxy stockade, because of course. And this is a little bit hard to detect especially for a newer player. If you were to scout this and see, oh, he's got a fulcrum, like, yeah, you'd expect a second structure, but maybe he's saving for a ministry, right? And so yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder to discern, to divine that, hey, something is missing, because it could be in his bank. Like, you could account for it with that. So I'm going to take another sip while we wait for the inevitable Huracan and Vulture waypoint. But it's looking like this will be a tight squeeze for our Grass Eater. Some of us like tight squeezes. I don't know if grass is one of them. I'm just thinking at this point, it's so cold all over the place, all over the globe. Nobody has a different weather system. And so maybe that'll be warm. You know, like Ahmed. Maybe it'll warm him up. Now, he's got the Quaz out already. The Vulture is not coming across, which I thought you'd pair that kind of offensively. But it looks like he's just going to kind of camp out here because, you know, he's Shambler. He camps. That's what he does. And it looks like a pair of Zats out, Quaz at the ramp. This Kagrant will not actually reveal anything even when hatched, so we don't have to worry about the surprise factor not being there. Yeah, these are kind of mainstay moments in RTS gameplay. Like, there's always going to be that one guy, that one motherfucker, that puts stuff in your base and you don't scout it. And then from there on, when you see the worker scout come into your base and then not leave, you think, hey, I wonder where he is. And then you scout it. And that always gets rid of this immediately, right? You just send your first Quaz out there, camp on the stockade. Now he's invested money into it. And you kill the worker so you can't make a second one. All that stuff. Excuse me. So overall, I do think that, I mean, it's for Ahmed. It's actually not the most. This theoretically could be cleaned up pretty easily. But what's the reaction time? So he does end up coming on down before anything happens. Looks like only one worker goes down so far. He's being a little bit lackadaisical with some of his unit movement. Now we're going to see Shambler try his best to kill more workers. Looks like he's killed a grand total of 3 workers with his investment so far. And he did shut down mining time, so fair enough there. That being said, you gotta be suspicious, right? Where did those units come from, right? What happened there? And there's 4 more Huracans where that came from, with 2 more on the way. So I don't know how Grass hasn't noticed yet what's happening, but yeah, he hasn't noticed, and he's making pure Droleth. He's making an Ovaleth. So I think the second round is going to do much more damage because he has no Zeths hatching, and he only has the 4 Quaz. So it's also more Ahmed. So yeah, it looks like, okay, Shambler's going to go with 6. And once again, here we go. How did he come in here? How did Ahmed get in my base? Ahmed's in my base. How did this happen? Oh, brutalized. Oh, gee. Oh, God. Well, at least we got our thumbnail, you know? But, okay. So I think I see what we're seeing here. We're seeing what's happening here. Grass Eater got Ahmeded. A couple of Nathacors are hatched. It's not going to be enough to stop Ahmed. Ahmed is too powerful. You cannot defeat the Ahmed. He is the fireman. GG is called. And all right, well, Shambler has done the clean sweep. Inglorious, cheesy play at the end there. And, I mean, it was Ahmed, so I guess it was kind of glorious. Man, this was a real... This is a set of strange games, I'll tell you that much. The mineral-only build that looks like something I would do. The camp build and then yell at your opponent for wasting your time after doing that to us. And then of course, the classic move where you just Ahmed him. So, you know, redemption at the end for Shambler. And no redemption for Grass Eater, unfortunately. He does not get on the board. Classic move. We'll be back with more games, of course. So stay tuned for those. GG, stay subscribed, etc.